Hello everyone, how's it going? Now in this video I'll be talking about why compulsions really get us nowhere. Because what tends to happen is that we dig ourselves a hole that doesn't even need to be dug. It didn't even need to be dug in the first place. I'll give an example. So when I used to engage in many compulsions around sort of moral themes and harm themes and taboo related themes, anything with guilt and shame involved, I used to confess a lot. I used to seek reassurance. I used to check. I used to constantly try and work things out. And the reason it's digging that hole that doesn't need to be dug is that when you start confessing, for example, or when you start venting or seeking some kind of reassurance externally, you then it just raises more questions than answers. Because let's say you confess, right? Something that I used to talk about all the time to my partner, constant getting things off my chest. Oh God, what about this thought? What about this intrusive image? What about this false memory? What about this real event from the past? So I spent years just constantly confessing, getting everything off my chest to my partner. Now, although initially it provided me with temporarily relief, keyword there being temporarily, and it was very short term and it was very short lived because OCD would just move the goalposts, it would just find something else. Now, the problem is that I would then confess and then I'd get relief, but then OCD would move to, but what do they think of you? Or what if you didn't explain it correctly? Or what if you missed the point, right? So then you would just keep digging and digging and digging and you were getting nowhere. It's just that compulsive chase for relief. It's that compulsive chase for that just right feeling so you can be at peace and then you can be calm and then you can get on with your life. But that's the trap. That is the trap because OCD will keep finding the next thing, right? If compulsions worked, if confessions worked, if reassurance worked, you wouldn't be watching this video of me talking right now because you'd have got relief. OCD wouldn't have found something else. OCD wouldn't have twisted something. It wouldn't have manipulated something. It wouldn't have morphed. You would be at peace and you'd go and live your merry life, laughing down the street, dancing happily. But you're not because OCD finds the next thing and then the next thing and then the next thing. Okay? So what tends to happen is that because we keep digging and then we keep checking and we keep doing reassurance over and over again, we don't get anywhere. We just go round in circles. So what I often tell people in coaching calls is say, hey, don't even start digging. Don't even look for that answer. Let's get very comfortable with uncertainty here. Let's not need to know. Let's say, for example, you're scared you may have harmed somebody. Okay, shall we use a driving fear, right? We use a driving fear because this is a good one for this. So let's say you drive past somebody, you drive past a pedestrian or a cyclist, whoever it may be, and OCD has gone, what if you hit them? What if you hit them? What if there was a slight bump in the road and that means you've hit them and you've driven off in a hit and run incident, right? Now, the urge to check, the urge to look round, the urge to drive back round will be immensely high. It feels irresistible when you're initially on the OCD recovery journey. Maybe you've been stuck for many years, but you keep engaging with compulsions. The urge will feel irresistible. It will feel like you have to. It will feel life and death. The risk factor will feel super, super high, where it feels like if you don't look round and check this, then your life is ruined forever. Then you can never, ever be at peace again, and you can never, ever be let off the hook, and your life is now over, right? And that's how it feels, and that's how intense it feels, and that is how it pulls you in. That's how it grips you in to perform in the compulsive behaviors. But as soon as you then look around, as soon as then you check, as soon as you then turn around and do a U-turn in the road to check that you haven't hit anybody, the hole is being dug. You're digging that compulsive hole, and the problem is that as you turn around to check, you then think, oh, you feel like you've got relief, but then it moves to something else. And what if you didn't work it out enough? What if you checked the wrong place? What if the person that you've hit might have walked off or crawled off or gone into some kind of area that you didn't see them? So you don't get relief because OCD's found something else, you see. It's morphed to something else. So even the fact that you've turned around and checked, you still haven't got any relief because OCD being the doubting disorder, it hasn't delivered on that promise. It's promised you that if you turn around and check, you'll get relief and you can be happy. It never delivers. Don't fall for the scam. Don't fall for the con. It's conning you each time. It never ever delivers on its promise. It never provides relief because it will always find something else. So then you've turned round, now you're checking to see if somebody's there. You can't see anybody, but then OCD has then gone, yeah, but they've gone elsewhere. So you wouldn't be able to see them anyway. And then you might stay there. You might go, right, okay, I need to have a look round. I need to go down this street to check that nobody's down there. I need to make sure that nobody's definitely in the road here. So now you're going round and round and round. Okay, you're never ever getting relief on that. And then, as you then turn around to check again, what if you then have a bump and think, oh God, maybe I have hit somebody. So here comes another compulsion, here comes another check. And then before you know it, you're going round and round in circles because you feel like you've hit somebody over there, and then over there, and now here. Because when you've looked in your mirror to see if you've hit somebody over there, you've had another bump in the road and feel like you've hit somebody over there, right? So then before you know it, you're just going round in circles. So you're digging the hole even deeper, aren't you? The compulsion, the innocent little harmless compulsion that you thought it was, has now led to compulsion after compulsion after compulsion. And now you feel totally and utterly trapped because you feel like, shit, I can't leave the situation now because it feels like I've hit multiple people. It feels like I've hit all kinds of things. So your compulsion has made things 100 times worse there, right? We have to get very used and very comfortable with resisting the urge to perform a compulsion. It causes more problems. It brings more questions than answers, right? You won't ever get relief doing those checking compulsions. Never, never, ever. Because that is the thing that's fueling the cycle. That is why you're going round and round and round, because OCD keeps pulling you in. And then as soon as you're about to shake hands with it, it takes its hand away at the last possible moment. And that's why you keep going round and round and round. When I used to confess to my partner, I would confess, she would then say something, and then straight away, OCD would latch to, what if she didn't understand properly? What if you didn't explain that correctly? What if you lied? What if you're still holding something back? So I then confess again, and then again, and then again. It never ended because OCD would have found something else. It would have twisted something else. It would have manipulated something else. Therefore, I needed to tell her again and again. And then I was absolutely convinced that my partner would then reject me. So I would then seek more reassurance. Do you still like me? Do you think I'm a bad person? Do you still love me? Do you want to leave me? Right, just going round in circles. So that initial confession compulsion led to more compulsions. It led to more confessing. It led to reassurance seeking, right? It led to repetitive questions. It led to venting. It led to all kinds of things. It led to avoidance and so on. Okay, so the one compulsion doesn't stop there. Same as an alcoholic, the one drink doesn't just stop there. So we've got to treat compulsions as serious as a drug addiction. And to really help you cut them, you've got to really think, if I check this, if I just work this thing out, if I aim for temporary relief, will I get that? Yes, you might. But will I get long-term relief? No, I won't. Will this help in my recovery journey? No. Will it prove a hindrance rather than a help in my chance to recover? On my desire to recover, it's going to block that. It's going to stop that. It's going to get in the way. Okay, compulsions are never the answer, but always remember that it's going to feel life and death. If it didn't feel life and death, you wouldn't do the compulsion. The nature of this disorder is that the reason it pulls you in is because of the realness, the complete and utter conviction. But remember, each time you engage with those compulsions of checking, figuring something out, seeking reassurance, confessing, whatever it may be, any kind of relief-seeking behavior to get rid of a feeling, anything you do to achieve some kind of certainty, any way of figuring something out to get rid of that discomfort provides short-term relief, but then it blocks your recovery. Many people that I coach are doing excellently well with their disputing. They're looking at their fears rationally, but the problem is that they're still engaging with compulsions. And if you're still engaging with compulsions, you might as well put all your disputing work in the bin, because your behaviors have to align with your beliefs. There's no point disputing. You can dispute until the cows come home. You can dispute for the rest of your life. But if you're still doing compulsions, still seeking reassurance, still confessing, still working out in your head, still checking, still making sure, still getting certainty, then the problem is that you do not believe your new beliefs that you're trying to implement and you're trying to embody, because you're not backing up with action. There's no substance to it. I'll give an example. Let's say you're learning to accept yourself if you did do something wrong. Let's say you have a big sort of moral fear and you have no compassion for yourself, and you're self-hating and you're self-punishing and you're beating yourself up, and you're in that self-neglect cycle with chronic guilt and shame, in that self-punishing cycle, and you're working really hard to change your beliefs there. You're disputing on paper, you're looking at all the catastrophic beliefs, you're looking to really apply unconditional self-acceptance, you really are looking at self-compassion and self-understanding and how you could let yourself off the hook and how you could still unconditionally accept yourself no matter what. Okay, you can dispute that until the cows come home, but then you get triggered, and then you have a huge urge to do a compulsion. You have a huge urge to work something out. You have a huge urge to check something. You have a huge urge to look around and get certainty on whatever this trigger may be. That is putting your disputing in the bin, because if you could unconditionally accept yourself, and if you're trying to get to that stage, you obviously don't if you're having to seek reassurance. Right? You obviously don't accept yourself if you're having to confess all the time. You obviously don't accept yourself if you're having to work things out, because that is the opposite of acceptance. That's control. That's needing an answer. That's needing certainty. That's trying to find a solution. That's trying to resolve all the time. That is the opposite of the new beliefs you're trying to implement. That is the complete and utter opposite of the unconditional acceptance that you're trying to philosophize, which will lead to long-term recovery. So really think about that. The next time you get pulled into a compulsion, the next time it feels real, the next time you feel trapped, the next time you feel totally stuck, the next time OCD is pulling you in with the conviction and the realness, just think, where is this compulsion going to get me? And does this compulsion match up with my new beliefs that I'm trying to implement? Does it? No, it doesn't, because any kind of checking is the opposite of the unconditional acceptance. Somebody that's embodied true unconditional acceptance isn't having to check all the time for certainty, isn't having to work things out constantly in their head, engaging with the working it out. The rumination will be automatic whilst the fears are still high. Okay, and they come down over time whilst we chip away at the fears, whilst we break down the irrational beliefs, whilst we change them to more rational beliefs and flexible preferences and unconditional acceptance. But if you're not cutting the compulsions, if you're still engaging with all the compulsions, you will remain stuck, because that is what's fueling the cycle. I know it's hard. It's very, very difficult. Nobody is saying you cut compulsions easily, because the symptoms will increase dramatically. They will. I can't sugarcoat that. If you cut compulsions, the symptoms will increase, but we have to be willing to feel like crap on this journey with the eye on long-term recovery rather than just short-term comfort, because that short-term comfort is stealing our precious time that we could have whilst recovered. Okay? Compulsions are a lose-lose situation. You will never ever get relief, ever, and it just keeps you trapped. It's a bluff. It's an illusion. Okay, let's do all we can to cut these compulsions whilst working on our rational beliefs, chipping away at our core fears, and then we give ourselves the best possible chance of recovery. You cannot compulsively get your way to recovery. It will not work. Compulsions have to be treated as serious as an addiction. People will go out of their way to do compulsions. People will do all kinds of things. They'll turn the car around in the middle of the street to find out if they hit somebody. It's 2 a.m, they'll be checking something over and over and over again to make sure that they definitely didn't do something wrong. They'll be spending hours and hours and days and months working things out, trying to get a solution, reenacting certain things, replaying certain things, testing things, checking things over and over again just to get relief. But it's never, ever given to you, because as soon as you get that relief, OCD switches up and it finds something else. To give yourself the best chance of recovery, compulsions have to be stopped, like our life depends on it. It really is that serious. It really is. I would not be in this position today that I'm in if I didn't cut compulsions. I'd still be stuck. I'd still be just as anxious. I'd still be just as guilty and shameful. I would still be just as panicked. I would still be just as depressed. I'd still be stuck with OCD. Compulsions are the behaviours fueling the cycle. They need to be stopped as soon as you can, because otherwise the belief work is pretty much put in the bin. Very, very important. And you keep digging that hole with compulsions. Let's stop digging. Don't even dig the hole in the first place. Let's get very used to wearing all the discomfort, embracing all the feelings, because as soon as we start digging that hole, it opens up more questions and you open up a compulsive can of worms. And you don't want to be doing that. Okay? If you have liked this video, please leave a like. If you're interested in our one-to-one services, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. My name's Sam. You have Rob here, the founder of OCD Recovery, Nick, Momin, Gemma and Elliot, all doing coaching calls. So please email phil@ocdrecovery.com to get in touch, and we can book you in as soon as we possibly can on our schedules. Anyway, take care, look after yourself, and compulsions really aren't worth it. They are the behaviours keeping you stuck on this cycle.